Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, everyone. We're back for another edition of Spread Those Cheeks for the Tea Season 2. We're here for the main event. We have the phenomenally talented actress, Miss Shamika Cotton. She's been on so many different TV shows, different Broadway, off Broadway plays, and things like that. So I'm not going to tell you guys what other things besides, of course, P Valley that she's done. I'm going to bring her to the stage and let her tell you herself. So without further ado, Miss Shamika Cotton.
Hey y'all.
How are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming on and coming to spill a little tea. So,
Yes.
for those who may be new to you, who may just got into P Valley and things like that, tell us who you are, what we may know you from, what we might have seen you as like, oh, who's that girl? You know, those kind of things.
It's me. Well, okay, as you said, my name is Shamika Cotton. I was most recently seen on P Valley playing the character Farah. But before that, I was also on The Wire playing Raylene Lee, who was Michael's mom. I've done a lot of Law and Orders. I've done a lot of shows here in New York, like The Equalizer, Prodigal Son, The Good Fight, and a few other things, Elementary, and things like that. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, yes. So before we get into the popular P Valley, let's start early, back in the day. Back in the day when Miss Shamika Cotton was first growing up. Tell us, where you're from, where you grew up, how you even got into acting.
Well, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, but I was raised in Cincinnati, so I'm definitely a Midwest girl. And in Cincinnati, I've always been creative, always been artistic. My mom told me fairly recently, probably in the last 3 years, and I don't know how she never told me this until now, but she said that when I was 3 years old, okay, I told her that I was going to be a movie star. Mom,
Okay.
you're just telling me this? So I just find that very fascinating because as I think it's important to notice or to note that kids, most of the times they come into this world knowing who they are and very in touch with that purpose. But then life starts to happen, and depending on what happens, you get shifted, and your experiences take you down different paths. So I think it's just really important to pay attention to who your child is telling you that they are early on, and you can
Definitely.
hold that very special place for them so they always have a place to come back to when they go through life and they're like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing or what I'm supposed to be doing. Most of the time when they were kids, they probably told you, or when you're trying to figure out, like, what is my purpose or my calling? I don't know what makes me happy or what drives me or what my curiosities are, you know? If you could go back to someone that held that space for you or that witnessed you growing up and say, was there anything that I might have mentioned? And usually you'll get it. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. Um, but I don't know if like she held on to that and directly guided my steps along the way. Right. I think she heard that and her memory held on to that. But growing up, it wasn't like she was like, Shamika, you're going to be in this arts program here, this arts program there.
Right.
Basically, she just was very supportive of me. So in elementary school, for example, I wanted to take ballet and tap classes. She supported me and let me do it. I wanted to learn how to twirl the baton. She supported me in doing those lessons. I wanted to know how to play flute. So I've always been supported to be that artistic and creative person. But it wasn't until my fifth grade year when we took a school field trip to go see a student production of Oliver Twist, I believe.
Mhm.
And this school matinee production was being done at the arts school in Cincinnati called the School for the Creative and Performing Arts.
Mhm.
And when I saw that production, I don't necessarily remember everything that I saw on the stage, but I do remember the result of that feeling, right? Like a lot of times people say that people may not remember the things that you say to them or the things that you do, but they remember how you make them feel. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that moment, I remember wanting to do that and being fascinated with it. And I told my mom I wanted to go to that school, and she looked it up. She got me an audition. I auditioned and I got in. And so that was some of my early training in theater, musical theater, and just finding my artistic expression. So I went to performing arts. We call it performing arts. We shorten it from like the 6th grade until the 10th grade. And then around that time, my 10th grade year, because the curriculum at performing arts was so it was a hard curriculum. Like you were always working, you had to always be in a production. And at that time, my friends were all doing like jobs and stuff. And as a kid, you want a job, you want to have your own money. You know,
Right.
the cool kids are doing, the cool kids, right? And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
Mom, I want to change schools and I want to focus more on academics, which turned out great because I discovered that I was really good in math. So I took a turn. I left the arts for a little bit. I went and got my, I went to Withrow High School. So I graduated from Withrow High School. I was in their International Baccalaureate program, which is like their AP
Okay.
program. And
Right.
so I discovered that I was good in math, and I went to college for engineering, and I got my bachelor's in manufacturing engineering. But by the end of that program, I started to have this little itch like, I think I want to get back to the arts. So then, after I graduated college with my engineering degree, I said goodbye to engineering and I moved here to New York City to start to pursue acting.
Okay.
And yeah, so I didn't go to college, or grad school for acting. I wasn't really aware of that path,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, acting and being an artist had just been something that you just kind of did. It was something I liked to do and I did it.
Right.
And I don't even think I realized as a kid when I was doing it that it was a possible career path, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Like today, you can't understand how a kid or someone could not know that they're that being an actor or being an artist is something that is possible for you. But when you look back at what we saw on TV or theater, especially in the Midwest when I was growing up, you didn't have that representation that we're seeing right now. That's why
Right.
it's so special right now, because it wasn't there before. That's why it's so important to see what's possible, to see us, so that we can dream bigger and then start to go on that journey to say, how can I do that? And then you see what the path is. So I didn't even know about grad school in terms of arts. I knew you went to
Mhm.
college for things that, like engineering or being a teacher, things like that. I didn't know that you had the option to go to college to be an actor. So
Right.
when I got to New York, I discovered all of this, and I was like, well, okay, I need to go to these schools that they're talking about. Now, mind you, I am the first person in my family to graduate, not the first to go, but the first to graduate that I am aware of. My grandfather actually was a college graduate, but I didn't get a chance to get to know him. He passed when I was like very, very little, like 5 or so. So in terms of our awareness of my cousins and brothers and sisters and aunties and uncles, it was me.
Right.
So I had no idea about Ivy League schools, right? I was just like, college, okay, I went to college. Oh, but now there's levels to college too.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, so let me look at these schools. And you see schools like Juilliard or Yale or Tisch. And I was like, they paying how much a semester? 30,000 per
Right.
semester, and it's 2 semesters. Make it make sense. And it at that time, my mind couldn't fathom the possibility of being able to do that at that time in my life. Now I could see it, but I didn't have the belief space to even comprehend or to go for it. So
Mhm.
I decided that, you know what, in order to establish myself as an actor here in New York, I am going to look at the curriculums at these schools, and I am going to find classes around New York City that offer those courses, and I will make my educational experience up by studying at all these different places here in New York City. And one of the places I studied at was a place called T. Schreiber Studio. And that's where I met my acting teacher, Mary Boyer. So she left T. Schreiber Studio and ended up founding her own studio called MTB Studio, B as in Boyer. And she was my teacher for many, many years. Like if I wasn't acting in a production, I was in class. And that was my life for at least 10 to 15 years when I came here to New York. I knew, and I wanted to, I love the craft. So I wanted to study it. And so she was my main teacher, but then I also studied with lots of other wonderful teachers. So that's kind of like the short, long story of my journey, of being an actor.
Yes, that's so amazing. I never heard nobody like, okay, let me go get y'all curriculum and then make up my own. Like, that's so amazing. Have you ever thought to maybe try to start your own school after just now even hear yourself say it again?
Like start my own school in what way? Say that again.
I'm saying even after just now hearing yourself say that again, like is that gonna help you jog your memory to start your own school?
I wouldn't, I'll say this. I wouldn't start a school, okay? But I am always interested in sharing tips and techniques. So I do coaching. Okay. And so I am developing curriculums to show people, like people always ask, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? And because I've had this journey and this obsession with learning different things, and also one of my gifts is being able to teach the things that I learn. So that is something that I am working on, is creating different workshops that people can take and I can share my experiences and the tools and techniques.
Yes, so, that would be amazing. Okay, I'm gonna find a way to get there and be in one of them classes like, Shamika, it's me.
Okay.
But speaking of, classes and things, so you said you basically started off in like on-stage theater. What's the difference to you from on-stage theater versus a motion picture like TV show or film?
Well, the difference, my training was first in theater. And I'm so grateful for that, because theater is the training ground, I feel like, for all of the other mediums of storytelling. If you can do theater and you've had a lot of experience in theater, of character development, of telling a story on stage in front of a new audience every night, you can do TV and film. So, but the difference is, for example, of course, when you're doing a stage production, you are telling the story in sequence, right? There's no cut, right? You have to keep it going, right? You mess up, you better figure out a way to get it back on track, right? So that creates a certain muscle that you have for concentration and a muscle for staying with it and kind of like riding the wave. Also, for theater, you're using your whole instrument at one time, right? You're using your voice, you're using your body gestures. And then it's very collaborative because you're sharing the stage space with other actors, and you've got your lighting director and your stage manager behind the stage, and people, out there running the lights and things like that. So it's more of a full-bodied at one-time experience. Now, TV and film, absolutely a full-bodied experience, but it's in pieces. It's in pieces. And sometimes, a lot of times, most of the times, it is out of sequence, right? So say, for example, you're in TV, or we'll say on camera, right? Because that's TV and film. So we'll say on camera, sometimes you're only telling the story from neck up for a close-up, right? So you have to modify your performance based on that. And that takes a special skill to be able to channel that energy and to train your instrument on how to express in that framing. And then maybe it's a medium close-up or a master shot. Sometimes, in theater, you tell the story every night, right? 8 days a week, right?
Right.
In TV and film, sometimes you can tell that story or that part of the story over and over and over again, right? Or sometimes it's just one take. Or
Mhm.
sometimes you can say you're doing 3 takes of something. You can make your actor choice something different for each take, so that the director and the editor has something to play with at the end when
Right.
they're putting the pieces together. And so then that brings me to my next point. On stage and theater, it's more of the actors and the writers medium. Like that's who's in control. Like the director can tell you to do all these different things, but at the end of the day, I'm the one on the stage and I'm going to make the choices I make and I'm going to say the words the writer gave me. In film and television, well, in TV, it's the writer. The writer is in charge a lot more in TV.
Mhm.
But in film, it's more the director's medium and the editor's medium, because they can take the shots and put them in different orders, and it tells a completely different story. An editor can make a performance that once you filmed it, it was a little lackluster or lacking, but they can choose different shots and build your performance. So it's collaborative in a whole different way, but the demands on the instruments are different.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I love that. I love just seeing how you explaining everything. Like you are definitely a professional at this. What
I'm
Chandler say?
obsessed.
I'm a professional girl. Speaking of professional, one of my favorite shows is Law and Order SVU. I was kind of happy for the pandemic because I got to watch every single episode, and I was interested to find out that you were on all the first 3 franchises because now it's a fourth one. So, what are some of the differences you see in that you have to, utilize in your different characters in each franchise?
Yeah, all of the characters were very different, and each of the franchises are they all have a different tone, so to speak. So you have like the SVU, which is the Special Victims Unit, which is kind of
Mhm.
like heinous crimes. You have your rapes and stuff like that, kind of just heinous crimes. Criminal Intent really gets into the mindset of the people that create that do the crime. So it's the Criminal Intent, more about the mind. And then just the basic Law and Order franchise, it really holds true to the format of this is the law side, and now we're switching to the order side. So you see the legal aspect. Well, you see the law enforcement, and then you see the legal aspect, right? So they're all kind of different tones, but in terms of my characters, they all were so different. So like on the original Law and Order franchise, I did Boy on Fire, and so there my character was this really wonderful. What I loved about it was being able to play the story of this woman who was hardworking and a loving mother who was doing the best she could to take care and raise 2 sons on her own. But then her son gets involved in a crime that puts him in the criminal justice system.
Right.
So I loved telling that story and being able to show the devastation of what happens when that happens to your family, to your child, what the mother goes through, and how she is affected by the system of law and order. So that was very special. And also the executive producer from the show, Fred Burner, sent me a personal note afterwards to really commend my performance. So that was also just
Oh,
always very special,
congrats.
right? And then you had let's see, SVU, right? And I believe that one was called, Criminal is Self-Made. Oh, I can't remember the name of the SVU.
Oh,
But
I just
anyway,
watched last night too again.
yeah. But anyway, in that one, it was so great because I got to be this woman that was involved in this covering up for my boo, right? And my
Right.
boo thing was Mums, the late, great Craig Mums Grant. And
Mm.
Craig Mums was what we called him here in New York, was this consummate artist, poet, actor, just this really joyous artist that was in theater, on TV. Everybody was just thrilled by his performance as poet in Oz. Like he was like, oh man,
Mhm.
just this really great artist. So to have the opportunity to work with him and then to get to know him, that was very, very special. And then, of course, working with the one and only Mariska Hargitay, who has been with
Yes.
the franchise from the beginning, and for her to be so gracious and so embracing. And then Danny Pino, who was just a hoot to work with. So that was really fun. And then for Criminal Intent, that character I felt like was closer to me in terms of being an artist who was on the come up.
Mhm.
So that was really great. I got a chance to meet Vincent D'Onofrio, who is another fantastic actor. Um, and that's one of the great things about being a New York based actor. You get to know these acting greats that are right here in the city, and and when you get a chance to meet them, it's just really something special because you know that they've been here on a very similar journey in terms of
Right.
acting career. So it's very, very special.
Yes, definitely. That's so great that you got to work with all those amazing people just from living in New York.
Hmm.
Um, a show that's not filmed in New York is what? P Valley.
Yeah.
So, how did you get to even audition for that show? And how did you feel when you first read the script, met the people?
Right. So P Valley filmed in Atlanta. I got the audition through my agents. My agent sent
Okay.
me the appointment, and the casting director, Billy Hopkins, who was familiar with my work, I had auditioned for him for many, many projects, and he's always been so supportive. And it was great to finally book something through his office. And that just goes to show for any actors out there listening or watching, if there's a casting director that keeps calling you in, they are rooting for you. They are just waiting to find the right role that is just for you.
Right.
And I say the right role that is just for you because maybe a month before, if not a few weeks, it was very close. I'll have to check my calendar to see when it was. I got this audition from Billy's office, and it was for the show Our Kind of People. Are you familiar with that
Mhm.
show? It was
Yes.
a Lee Daniels show with
Yeah.
Yaya DaCosta and a fantastic cast.
Yeah.
Well,
A
the
good show.
the person who plays like her, she finds out it's her sister, and she's like the owner of this company, right? I forget the name of it. I think her name was Lena, probably.
Oops, sorry, my co-star.
I love dogs. And so I was auditioning for that role, and one of the requirements and one of the scenes, first of all, it was 5 scenes to audition for, 5 scenes, but one of the scenes was a sex scene. And this sex scene was supposed to be me and my husband. We just left this benefit. We are all like, what a great time it was, but our marriage is kind of strained.
Mhm.
And we decided to kind of like have some sexy time in the back of the limousine. All right. Okay, sure. But the way that it was described in the script, the way that Lee Daniels and them wrote it, it said that they are effing, like it had that word. So I'm just, that's what y'all want? Okay, I'm going to give you that, Fox. That's what we do in Fox. Okay, sure. And so it was like, okay, so that was my first time kind of doing like an intimate scene for an audition. And like, it's a self tape, mind
That
you.
was just the audition?
Exactly. Like,
Oh,
hit me up for the callback for that. But for the audition, you want all of that? Like, come on. But you know what? I'm game. I'm trained. I'm ready for you. So I had to figure out how do I show sex in the back of a car, but I'm doing a self tape and there's nobody here with me. How do you do that? She's supposed to mount him and then have sex, right? So I figure it out, and I'm just like, okay. I turned it in. I turned it in because I took my risk. I did it. It was a little embarrassing, but I'm just like, you asked for it, so that's what you got. So needless to say, I didn't get it. But what had happened was a few weeks later, or a month later, I did the audition for P Valley. And I was like, oh, I see what happened here. Billy was like, not our kind of people, but I have a show just for you, Shamika. And so I think, and I don't know, I'm going to ask him the next time I see him, like, did you say I know exactly where to put her? Because then I got the audition for P Valley. And so I was already familiar with the stories and the themes in P Valley because I was already a fan of the show. And they ask you, when they send you the appointment, they say, let us know in your slate, which is what you put where you say, hi, my name is Shamika Cotton. I'm 5'7", where I'm located. And they wanted you to also say, are you comfortable with the intimacy? Like they want to have that on tape. So if you book it and you show up, like, I ain't comfortable, but you said it on your audition tape, right?
Right,
So
no
they would make you
reunion.
sure. Exactly. And so I did the audition, and I remember thinking at the time, because it was early in the summer, and I had some other audition that I had to do, and I had to like prioritize, like, which one do I spend more time on? And I was like, I don't know if they're really going to cast me as this character on P Valley because I had been so used to being cast as like the mom or just not as someone that they described as an ice queen. I always get stuff like nurturing, friendly, kind, those kinds of characters. So it's just like they're not gonna believe me. And so, but I was like, you know what? But I still submitted it. But I didn't really expect like to hear anything back. Like after I do an audition, after 1 or 2 days, I'm just like, okay, not getting it, moving on. And then there's always a ton of other auditions, gratefully, a ton of other auditions or work to put my mind on. And so I didn't hear anything for a month. I had moved on with my life. Okay. I was doing a show off Broadway. I was doing a play called Seven Deadly Sins. And so
Okay.
I got a call that they wanted to have a producer session. I was like, for who? For what? And they were like, for that audition you did a month ago. And so I had the producer session, which so fantastic. It was on the day that Katori, who was our showrunner creator of P Valley, she received her Pulitzer on that day.
Oh
They
wow.
had my audition, my callback. Like, I don't know about you, but I might be like, look, y'all, I just won the Pulitzer. Let's pick this back up tomorrow. I'm about to go.
Right.
No, sis was at work doing callback.
Dedicated.
And so that just really speaks to her artistic integrity and her work ethic. Like she is amazing. Not to mention she filmed season 2 while pregnant and giving birth. Like,
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
oh, absolutely. We were like, will she be able to make it through the whole season before the baby comes? And she made it. She made it.
Okay.
And so I had the producer session, thought it went really great. Then I ain't hear nothing. Didn't hear anything for another month. So I had totally put it out of my mind. I was like, I know I did a great job. I know it was great, but it just wasn't me. And then one day I get a call from my agent. I had my ringer off because I was helping another colleague do an audition. And I turned my ringer on. They're like, Shamika, hurry, call us back. We're trying to reach you. And that's when they told me that I booked the role of Farrah. And I cried. Okay, y'all. I cried because I was just so grateful. I was just so, so grateful.
Yes. I love it. And I love you as Farrah. So one more question I want to ask about P Valley is how do you feel about the messages that P Valley gave during the political and social climate of COVID, racial segregation, all those things? How do you feel helping portray those during while it was going on?
What do you mean by like racial segregation?
I mean, how can I say? I mean, like racial profiling with the things with like the shootings and just racism between like with the colorism thing that they were showing on P Valley.
Yeah.
All those. She had so many. Like I could go on and on for days.
I am so proud to be a part of a show that is that in touch with the lives and living experiences of of our people, of Black people. Now, mind you, the cast, of course, it's a diverse cast, but predominantly these stories are people of color, specifically Black people, right? And
Mhm.
so I was so proud to be a part of a show that is not afraid to talk about it, that created a space for us to come together wherever you watched it, on your phone, on your laptop, on your TV, wherever, but to come gather around and let's talk about these things that we've been dealing with, sometimes on our own, sometimes we didn't even really have certain conversations with the people in our lives, but because they were the topics and the storylines in the show, it created another platform for the conversations to almost express those wounds. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm just so proud to be a part of a show that was so fearless, and that just was holding that space that we all needed. I think we really needed to have that, and also to honor the workers, the essential workers during the pandemic, during the pandemic, and a place to honor the experience of how we are affected by a brutality on Black bodies from law enforcement. Like, let's
Mhm.
talk about that. Let's talk about freedom in terms of expression and gender identity and
Right.
sexuality. Let's talk about it, because I believe that conversations are a powerful medium for a currency of change, right? It's in these conversations that we start to facilitate and change and create the world that we want to live in. So I'm just beyond proud.
Yes, and not only did you talk about it, you showed it, girl, and you showed off for P Valley. So I want to congratulate you on that. And I have one last question
Okay.
because you are a very busy woman. It what would it take for you to produce, direct, or produce your own production, or is that something you secretly over there working on?
It's something I'm secretly working on.
Yes, I knew it. Okay.
My company is actually in the midst of launching an internship program,
Okay.
because we're getting a lot of our projects up and running. So yes, it is in my company. As you know, you've talked to the assistants and stuff like that. 1010 Talent and Creative Services. So it is a media company, and so that is definitely something that is in the works right now.
Okay, yes, I can't wait to see it. I'm gonna be the first one to post about it, the first one to watch it as soon as it drops. So I'm gonna be there. I want to say thank you so much for giving me this time out of your busy schedule, your busy day. If you just watch TV all day, we'll probably see you like 30 times. So that means you're working. And I want to congratulate you on not only working for all these years, but being an African American woman working and taking on these roles and killing
Oh.
them, not just hi, I'm so and so. No, like you going in there, like you giving face and everything. For anyone tuning in, where can we keep up with you, stay up to date with you, and all those things?
I think the best place is Instagram. I am Shamika Chronicles on Instagram. And then, yeah, just everything that I do, that's kind of like the watering hole for all things Shamika. And I just want to say to you, I am proud of you for going after your dreams and reaching out, and just for all that you're doing, right? The space that you are holding for conversations. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's really huge. You know what I mean? And for people who are watching you and learning by your example, to say, I want to talk to so and so, I'm going to reach out to them. And how you show up consistently doing this. This ain't the first one. You have many episodes. So you're consistently showing up in this space. So congrats to you too. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much, Shamika. That means so much to me. And thank you again for coming doing this interview. I had an amazing time.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okie dokes.
Oop, sorry, y'all. The computer was acting up, but there you have it. We had Miss Shamika Cotton. What a wonderful interview. What a wonderful woman. What wonderful. I could just keep going. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and being a part of this. Before you leave, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And follow me as well on Instagram at Man Williams. Shamika said her Instagram is Shamika Chronicles, so follow her. Make sure you watch P Valley. Go on your Hulu and find Law and Order SVU and find the episode that she on. And just stay tuned to me. I got more episodes, more things coming in. Yeah, see you guys next time.